Rounding can be a really challenging concept for our students to grasp, especially if they don't have a strong foundation and understanding of place value. In third grade, your students are required to round numbers to the nearest 10 and 100. And in today's video, I'm going to share some simple ways to introduce and reinforce rounding. So if you're ready, give this video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any future videos because I release a new one every week. Now let's dive in and get started. I've shared before that place value sets the foundation for so many mathematical skills. Before they can round, they need a strong foundation of place value. Place value is not one of those skills that you just want to skim through. Another important thing to remember when teaching rounding is that we need to focus on precise language and vocabulary. Our students need to know what they are rounding to. Instead of just saying, okay, we're going to round up or down, what place value are they rounding to? We want to ask questions and encourage student responses with phrases such as, okay, let's round 37 to the nearest 10, instead of, hey, let's round 37 up. Or let's round 416 to the nearest 100 instead of saying, hey, let's just round 416 down. As you are asking questions and encourage them to discuss and respond, also using those vocabulary words to help support their thinking. It's also really important to provide them with different examples and strategies for rounding 2-digit and 3-digit numbers. Visual models can really help this hard process become more concrete. So how do we do this? Well, we first introduce the rounding place. This is going to be different depending on if you are rounding the number to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. When you round to the nearest 10, your rounding place is the number in the tens place. Let's take a look at the number 37. If we're rounding 37 to the nearest 10, the number 3 would be the number in the rounding place because 3 is in the tens place. If the number is 237 and we're rounding to the nearest 10, 3 is still the rounding place because 3 is in the tens place. Now, if we were rounding to the nearest 100, the rounding place would be 2 because the 2 is in the hundreds place. In the examples I'm going to show you today, we're going to focus on rounding 2-digit numbers to the nearest 10. First, I actually recommend introducing rounding by using a modified 120 chart. I want to show you what that looks like. This is what a modified hundreds chart for teaching rounding looks like. This printable is actually in my third grade place value and rounding unit. It is a little bit different than a traditional hundreds chart, so let me show you the differences. The first thing you might notice is that the numbers that are a 10, there are 2 of them. So you can see here, there's 2 10s, there's 2 20s, 2 30s, and so forth. Then in the middle, dividing the hundreds chart, there is a thicker black line, and I'll show you the purpose for that here in just a second. Up here across the top, I have added 2 arrows, one that says round down and the other says round up. So let's say, for example, we are going to round the number 46 to the nearest 10. What I like about this kind of visual is that we have the arrows up here at the top, and so we can see 46, we have this line right here, and they know that if it falls on this side of the line, then we're going to round up to the nearest 10. If it falls on the left side of the line, then we are going to round down to the nearest 10. Now, there's lots of chants out there or little jingles or phrases or poems that you can teach. I do like to teach if it is 5 or more, we're going to add 1 more. If it's 4 or less, we're going to let it rest. And by that, we mean we're going to look at the number in the ones place to determine how we round. So if I have the number 56, then my number in the rounding place is the 5 because my rounding place, we're rounding to the tens, so 5 is my rounding place. Then I'm going to look at the 6 and maybe I say, is it 4 or less? Let it rest. 5 or more, add 1 more. Because it is more than 5 and it is on this side of our line on our hundredths chart, it's on the right side, I know that we are going to round to 60. Let me show you how I incorporate different activities using the hundredths chart for rounding. So if you own my 3rd grade place value and rounding unit, this activity is included. It is just a booklet that walks you through the steps for introducing rounding. So let's take a look. On the first few pages, they are going to identify what the rounding place of these numbers are. And maybe here you could have them write the definition of the rounding place, and then they are going to draw a box around each rounding place. So because we're rounding to the tens, the number in the tens place is the rounding place. Now we're going to ask, how do I round a number? So this booklet walks you through several pages with different number examples. When it's time to round, ask 5 or more, add 1 more, 4 or less, let it rest. And it gives you the number 63. 63 has a 6 in the tens place. That's our rounding place, which is why it's underlined. And it rounds to blank. That is when we look at the number in our ones place. And I have a 3. So I can come over here to my hundredths chart and I can find the number 63 and I would have them circle it. I can also see visually that 63 is going to round down because it is on the left side of the hundredths chart. It would round to 60. 19 has a 1 in the tens place. I'm going to look at my ones place to determine how it rounds. 19 is 5 or more, so we are going to add 1 more and it is closer to 20. Another way that I like to practice rounding to the nearest 10 is by using an interactive work mat and a PowerPoint. Now I have a PowerPoint that goes along with this activity and kind of guides them through their thinking and prompts them with different questions. But I'm not going to show you that PowerPoint. I'm just going to show you the work map that goes along with it. Let's say they are going to round the number 46 to the nearest 10. That's the number that we want them to work with. We would say 46 is between, so over here on our hundredths chart, we would find the number 46 and I would have them circle it or color it in. And I want to know what 2 tens is the 46 in between. 46 is between 40 and 50. So that's what I would write. 46 is between 40 and 50, but it's closer to the number 50. So when rounding to the nearest 10, it would round to 50. Let's do another example. Let's round the number 82 to the nearest 10. I would have them find 82 on their hundredths chart and they could circle it or color it in. Then we're going to identify what 2 tens is 82 in between. So 82 is between 80 and 90. You could even have them circle the tens on the 100 chart if that would be better. So it's in between 80 and 90, but it's closer to 80. So 82 rounded to the nearest 10 would be 80. Another strategy for rounding to the nearest 10 is to use a place value number line. A place value line leaves the starting and ending tens place blank and then counts by ones in between. This allows you to easily change out the numbers when using this strategy. So let's take a look at a few examples. When introducing rounding on a place value line for my whole group lesson, I actually like to use these beaded number lines. You can see here in this picture example that the two ending tens are blank, and then there is a beaded number line in the middle where it counts by ones. I would have these laminated so that kids can change out the starting and ending tens with a dry erase marker, and that they can change it out. So this makes it really hands-on. During our whole group lesson, we are just practicing rounding various numbers to the nearest 10. So you can see here in this first example, we are rounding the number 46. What we would do is we have a matching activity to go along with our beaded number line, and this is placed in our math journal. And we write the starting and ending tens that 46 is in between. So 46 is between 40 and 50. So we would write that in our math journal, and then I could also have them write 40 and 50 on their beaded number line as well. To represent 46, they would slide the bead on their beaded number line to the 6 to represent the number 40 and 6. Then we go through our prompt that 46 is between 40 and 50, but it is closer to 50. By having them use that beaded number line and they can see that bead on the 6, it's just another visual representation that they can see that 6 is closer to, or that 46 is closer to 50 rather than 60. Let me show you how I would practice this strategy in a small group setting. To practice this in small groups, I like to use a roll and round activity, and you can use several different kinds of dice. I'm actually going to use a 6-sided die and a 10-sided die so that I can create higher numbers. What we would do is we're going to roll the dice to create a 2-digit number. So I have the number 47. Then here on my place value line is where I need to fill in my 2 tens numbers. I know that 47 is between, it's going to start with 40 and end with 50. 47 is between 40 and 50. And then now what I'm going to do is I am going to just draw a dot on a number line, or you can have them use a manipulative, or they can mark it with an X, however you want, but you want them to mark the number 47 on their number line. So here is the number 47, and I can visually see that 47 is closer to 50 than it is to 40. So 47 is closer to 50. So 47 rounded to the nearest 10 would be 50. Let's show you one more example. So I'm going to write 81 on our work mat, and 80 is between 80 and 90. So it's in between those two tens. And you could also have them use a rounding hundreds chart. You could also have them use this as a visual as well, especially for your lower learners. If they would struggle with the tens that a number is in between, you could absolutely use this as a visual tool as well. So 81 is between 80 and 90. Then they're going to mark 81 on their number line. And then they can visually see that 81 is closer to 80. So when 81 is rounded to the nearest 10, it would round to the number 80.